Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. For tonight's class, I have brought with me a certain topic that I wanted to cover. Jazakallah. Ramadan is fast approaching. Inshallah ta'ala, before we know it, it will be upon us. The blessed days of Ramadan, their importance, their significance in the religion of Islam is very well known. This month sometimes is of 29 days, sometimes it is of 30 days. And every baligh individual, whether male or female, is required to fast during these months, given that he or she is not, number one, traveling, number two, is not sick, number three, the female is not pregnant or murdi'a, which means that she is not nursing a child or weaning a child. And similarly, there are other categories of individuals who are not required to fast during the month of Ramadan. Then there are certain aspects, certain matters related to fasting. For example, when do you do seher and when do you do iftar? Similarly, the concept of itikaf in the last 10 days of Ramadan, the concept of Laylatul Qadr, and then many other issues that have to do with the concept of fasting itself. Usually such talks take place during the month of Ramadan when people have already started fasting. The reason I'm starting this discussion today, almost a month in advance of Ramadan, is so that mentally and physically we start preparing ourselves for this blessed month. Spiritually, you can prepare yourself by keeping the intention that if you're not traveling and if you're not sick and if you're not weaning a child, then you should have the intention of fasting. That is, if you are baligh. In our Jamaat, the guidance which is provided is very clear. We believe that individuals who are still physically gaining their strength, meaning they're still growing, they should not fast until they have reached the age of 18, which is considered as the age of bulughat in most countries anyways. We are encouraged that at the age of 15, we should start getting our kids to get in the mode of fasting. So when they reach the age of 15, we encourage them that now you start fasting. So let's say if in the year 15 of their life, they fast 10 days, then the following year we ask them to fast more than 10 days. And then the following year, which will be 17th year of their life, we ask them to fast more days than the previous year, until they are 18 years of age. And then the hukum of Sharia will be obligatory upon them, and they will be required to fast the whole 30 or 29 days of Ramadan, basically the entire month of Ramadan. There are certain acts which are forbidden during the month of Ramadan, which otherwise are lawful. But during the period of fasting itself, one is to abstain from those acts. For example, while the duration of fasting is still going on, after you have done your sahir and your fast begins, until you open your fast through iftar, you are supposed to not eat or drink anything. You're not supposed to, the the specific relationships that take place between husband and wife. One is to abstain from that during fasting. There is a hadith in which Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned that if an individual does not eat or drink anything, but then at the same time goes on lying and committing other vices, then Allah does not need him to stay hungry and thirsty. His fast is no good. The purpose of Ramadan is to spiritually make us ready for our life to come. It is supposed to make us ready to give up everything for the sake of Allah the Almighty. It is supposed to make us ready to give up our wealth for the sake of poor people. Have you ever wondered why is it that during the month of Ramadan, even the rich people are fasting? Even they experience hunger. Even they experience thirst. The wisdom behind that is so that they get to experience what their, brothers and sisters in faith who are less fortunate, what they have to endure on almost regular basis. So during the month of Ramadan, a sense of feeling what your other brothers and sisters have to go through is established. Once you know what they're going through, automatically you will be more inclined towards understanding their difficulties and maybe perhaps doing something about it. So you see, it's not just during the month of Ramadan that you do certain things. For example, what you learn during the month of Ramadan will then be applied for the rest of the year until the next Ramadan comes. People do charity. Regarding Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is mentioned that he was the most sakhi man. He was the most sakhi man, most charitable. But even him, during the month of Ramadan, it is mentioned that his sakhawat would be like a fast blowing wind. Meaning nothing would stay with him. Whatever he would receive, whatever money, whatever food that he would have, he would be quick in dispersing it to the less fortunate people. During the month of Ramadan, you would see that even a person who is very greedy, someone who does not like to spend, someone who is miser, even that individual would spend something during the month of Ramadan. This is the blessing of Ramadan, that everybody opens their pockets to spend towards the less fortunate people and is willing to suffer hunger, experience hunger and thirst for the sake of the Almighty. But it has to serve a greater purpose. That greater purpose is that at the end of the day, at the end of the month of Ramadan, you have become a better person. Better person towards other people, better worshipper of Allah, a better abid, a better shukur, abd shukur. That you are now more grateful to Allah the Almighty at the end of Ramadan than you were when you started fasting on day 1 of Ramadan. Your wife should be able to say that, when you started Ramadan, you were at a certain level, and at the end of Ramadan, you have improved. You have bettered yourself. You have become better, Similarly, the husband should be able to say that, when the Ramadan started, my wife was at a certain level of spirituality. And now, alhamdulillah, by the end of Ramadan, she has increased in her spirituality. That now, during the month of Ramadan, if in previous months, somehow, God forbid, you were lazy in observing your prayers, in doing good, then during the month of Ramadan, you start waking each other up. You make sure that you're not missing the fasts. You make sure that you're not missing on doing anything which is good. You jump on every opportunity to do good which presents itself, and then you take it. During the month of Ramadan, we read Quran. We try at the very least to at least finish one recital of the Holy Quran. Then, in certain places you have Taraweeh Salat. But the main prayer during the month of Ramadan, apart from the 5 daily prayers, of course, is Tahajjud Salat. That we should be praying Tahajjud. But if individuals who are unable to do Tahajjud, if they cannot get up for Tahajjud, then Taraweeh is the easier of the two solutions for them. So inshallah ta'ala, I hope that in this mosque, there will be Taraweeh prayers happening. In other masajid of our Jamaat, I'm assuming that same things will happen inshallah ta'ala. So today I just wanted to get everybody, into the mode of thinking about Ramadan. That Ramadan is coming. What is it that you're preparing for the month of Ramadan? Ramadan is not about eating lavish foods. Ramadan is not about wearing the nicest and the most, awesome clothes that you have. Ramadan is all about how you are going to be, preparing yourself to present before your God. Imagine that this is the final Ramadan that you will experience. And then prepare according to that. And then if Allah Ta'ala gives you life beyond the month of Ramadan, then Alhamdulillah. But the way you should prepare for the month of Ramadan is that you should think that this is it. This is the final Ramadan that I have. So give your 100%. Give more than 100%. You make sure you fast, you do tahajjud, you do other nawafil during the rest of the day. You read Quran. You give sadaqah. You speak that which is right speech, that which is good. You do da'wat ilallah. You preach to people. You take the message of Islam and you go and you tell other people that, look, I have a gift and I want to share that gift with you. Month of Ramadan is one of the biggest blessings for Muslims. It would be very unfortunate if we as Ahmadi Muslims do not partake of these blessings. So without going in any details, that's what I want to do tonight. I just wanted to give you a very brief introduction to the month of Ramadan and then open it up for a Q&A session. Any individual who has any question, whether related to Ramadan or any other topic, they're more than welcome to ask. But I did promise our sisters that inshallah ta'ala next time, they will be given the first opportunity to ask questions. So any member of Lajna Maila who would like to ask a question, the ladies get to go first. And then
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikum salam.
It's off the topic a little bit here about life insurance. Why is it not permitted? Is it not permitted? And what about long-term disability, short-term disabilities? Those are also kind of insurances that we do get from our employers. But life insurance is a big question. Why is it not permitted? And is it just us, or it's the whole Muslim Ummah? Is it this just a life insurance question?
Jazakallah for your question. Regarding the life insurance policies, this question did come up at the time of Hazrat Sayyidina Imam al-Mahdi wal-Masih al-Maud Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian alayhi salatu wasalam. One of his companions came and he said that, Huzur, I have life insurance and I have paid a significant amount towards it. And Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam told him that no, this is not right. बीमा कराना जिंदगी का इसकी इजाजत नहीं, ये ठीक नहीं. Meaning, it's not allowed to have life insurance. There are many reasons why having a life insurance is not allowed. But let me first take the second portion of your question. The second part of your question was related to various kind of disability insurances that your workplace offers you. I believe they come with your work anyways. It's not that you have the option to take it. They usually come with the package. If you're working for some firm, they usually have it as part of your work deal, that God forbid something happens to you, then they will cover for your medical expenses, so on and so forth. So that is something that you do not opt for, it's given to you. So it's automatically there. Regarding life insurance, one very fundamental reason why life insurance is forbidden is that you're placing a kind of price tag on your own life. When you say that, I want to have life insurance and my life insurance is going to be for example, $100,000 or $1 million. If something happens to me, then, after I am long gone, my family will then be given that amount. And that even if individuals who do apply for life insurances, when they do die, their family have to go through a living hell in order to get what technically should be theirs. The insurance company properly makes sure that they would do everything and anything in their powers to not give a single penny. So instead of making life easier for your loved ones, what you end up doing is that through this, life insurance, you're putting your family through another excruciating process. That doesn't mean that Islam says that you should leave your, family members in a destitute situation. As a matter of fact, Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned that you should leave your family members in a situation where they're financially stable, where they do not have to rely on other people. Now, for that purpose, you don't have to just rely on life insurance. There are other ways and means of making sure that your family is well off when you transform from when you move on from this phase of life into the other one, into the next life. For example, Islam says that, in the religion of Islam, we are encouraged that our spending should be less than what we are actually making. If you're breaking even, then that means that you are not saving anything. If you're not saving anything, then that is where you would start contemplating on getting insurances and doing this or doing that. At the same time, in our Jamaat, we are actually encouraged to pursue lucrative jobs. We're actually encouraged to pursue businesses if possible, so that we're able to make more money. If you make more money, you can spend you can spend more money in the way of Allah, first and foremost. You can help other brothers and sisters in humanity, regardless of their faith. Number three, if you're making decent money, then you can put a significant amount on the side for your wife or for your husband and for your children, for your family members. So this is the reason why, fundamentally, in our Jamaat at least, I'm not too sure about other Muslim denominations, but I can tell you this much, that Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat is not the only Jamaat out there that believes that life insurance is like putting a price tag on your life. I'm sure there are other wisdoms behind it. Maybe I can try to answer this question next time I come here and bring more references, hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, from the writings of the Khulafa. Was there any other aspect to your question?
No, Jazakallah. That's it.
Next question.
One second, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So last time, as you mentioned, that last 1,000 year was Hazrat Masih Maud time. So it is stated that even Ahmadiyyat will divide into like more sects and stuff. Would that be so? Because I was reading something about Nabuwat and stuff, and they were like even like whenever like something happens, a Nabi comes in to revive the teachings of the previous um, Nabi. But my question is that what if like so does that cover like what am I trying to think is that so if Hazrat Masih Maud's time like it's 1,000 year, but if like Ahmadiyyat gets like on wrong path, would that mean that Hazrat Masih Maud is the last one, or like will there be someone else coming after it?
Okay, Jazakallah. Give me a few seconds before I answer. If I have understood your question correctly, then you're saying that a prophet doesn't come without a purpose. A prophet usually comes when there is a need for the prophet. When people usually go bad, Allah the Almighty sends a prophet. That's the generic rule. Just like when people become sick, they go to a doctor or a doctor comes to them. Similarly, when people spiritually becomes sick and ill, Allah the Almighty sends His messengers. Allah the Almighty sends His prophets. So your question is that if ever there comes a time where the Ahmadi Muslims become corrupt, then would there be any other prophet who would come from Allah to reform them? Or is Hazrat Masih Maud, the founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, the only messenger who will come after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? I believe this was your question, right?
Ji.
Okay. First thing first, Allah the Almighty does not say that only one messenger will come after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and others cannot come. The thing is, Allah the Almighty has mentioned in the Holy Quran, not in one place, but in many places, that whenever there will be need, Allah has the power to send whomsoever Allah wishes. Allah Ta'ala says in one portion of the Holy Quran that Ya Bani Adama, imma yatiyannakum minkum rusulun, that, O children of Adam, if from among you comes a messenger from my, meaning Allah the Almighty says that if ever a messenger comes to you from me, what do? You believe in him. The context of this verse is that Allah the Almighty was speaking about believers. Allah the Almighty was speaking about the Sahaba of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then right in the middle of that context, Allah the Almighty revealed this verse, that, O children of Adam. And then Allah says that whenever a messenger comes, believe in him. Similarly, Misaqun Nabiyyin is another very famous phenomenon which is mentioned in the Holy Quran, where Allah the Almighty took covenant from the prophets that if a messenger comes, after you, that you and your people would support him and believe in him. So, keeping all these points in mind, we believe that if ever there is a need and Allah the Almighty chooses to send a person as a Nabi to reform people of that time, then number one, Allah the Almighty has the power to do so. Number two, is that going to happen? I don't know. If it does happen, then according to the guidance that we already have from our Khulafa, whoever will be the Khalifa of that time, it's very likely that Allah the Almighty might choose him as the Nabi, and through him, reforms the people at that time. But that doesn't mean that it's necessary that it is going to happen. As a matter of fact, in another place of the Holy Quran, Allah Ta'ala says, Allah knows best where to place his prophethood. Allah Ta'ala knows best who to appoint and when to appoint. That means that the Ahmadi Muslim community does not believe that after Hazrat Masih Maud Islam, if there is a need, even then Allah will not send any prophet. If there is a need, Allah has the power to send a prophet. Allah Ta'ala has the power to send 100,000 more prophets if He wants to. There is not a single verse in the Holy Quran. There is no such hadith that says that no prophet can come at all. If there is a need, Allah Ta'ala knows best. But the question is, will they? We don't know. If we come to that point, then Allah Ta'ala, He will appoint somebody. Right now, we have the blessing of Khilafat, which guides us every day, every single moment of our life. You notice that other denominations within Islam, they have many differences. In certain mosques, even the congregation itself is divided. I remember Hazrat Khalifatul Masihur Rabi rahimahullah ta'ala once mentioned about certain Muslim denominations in UK who accepted the prayer duo, who accepted the invitation for Mubahala. These people were continuously saying that if MDs are Muslims, then let's see who's enjoying God's divine help. So Hazrat Khalifa Rabi rahimahullah ta'ala then issued the invitation to Mubahala, which was accepted by various imams in London. More specifically, there was this one mosque that I remember Hazrat Khalifa Rabi rahimahullah ta'ala talked about. And Hazur mentioned that it was probably the days of Ramadan, either the days of Ramadan and Eid was about to come, or it could have been Eid al-Adha. one of the two. And just before Eid, the entire congregation of that specific mosque became divided. So much so that there was literal fighting among its congregants and members. They couldn't agree on a single imam who would lead them in prayer. Same people who go to the same masjid eventually became divided. Allah the Almighty says in the Holy Quran, this is one of the conditions that the non-believers had, that تَعْصُبُهُمْ جَمِيعًا قُلُوبُهُمْ شَتَّى, that in their animosity, in their acts of persecution of the believers, they're all together. But when it comes to their hearts are divided. They cannot agree on something. So, I was talking about Hazrat Khalifa Rabi Rahimahullah Ta'ala having mentioned this, that how the other Muslim denominations, they are divided. And the reason they are divided is because Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself had mentioned that an imam will come who will be hakam, and he will be adal, and he will be the judge, the arbitrator among the Muslims. And we, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, believes that hakam and adal has come. And because of having believed in him and having accepted him, Allah the Almighty has established khilafat amongst us. So the bounties and the blessings which are associated with Nabuwat, when the Nabi passes away, when the Prophet passes away, Allah the Almighty continues those blessings through the institution of Khilafat. Like when Holy Prophet ﷺ passed away, the blessings that the Muslim community had in the form of Nabuwat of Rasulullah ﷺ, those blessings in some way continued even after his demise through the establishment of Khilafat-e-Rashida. So in Jamaat Ahmadiyya as well, when Hazrat Masih Ma'ud alayhi salatu wasalam passed away, Allah the Almighty continued the blessings that were associated with Nabuwat in the form of Khilafat after the demise of Sayyidina Masih Ma'ud alayhi salatu wasalam. And that is why the Ahmadi Muslim community itself is together. It is united at the hands of one man, whom Allah the Almighty appointed as the Khalifa. Any other question on the ladies' side?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, my question is, a woman who's missing a fast for 4 or 5 years, how can she complete it, and what can she do other than fidya? You want me to? Okay. Ji.
Your question is that if someone has been missing fasting for the last 3, 4, 5 years, how can they make up for it?
Yes, and other than fidya, how can she make it up?
See, the thing is, if an individual has missed fast for the last 4 or 5 years, first thing that needs to be addressed is on what reasons or what grounds did that individual miss the fasting, miss those fasts. For example,
like babies or like nursing and just back and forth.
Okay. Then a woman who could not fast for a certain number of years because she was raising her children, meaning those children were of an age where she is, nursing them, or that she was pregnant. So such women are, under the category of daimi marid, which means that until they're done, with weaning children and giving birth to children, fasting is not for them. They should give the fidya, and that is it. So once such a woman has given birth to her children, and now she is not weaning any one of them, because while she is weaning them, while she is nursing them, her diet is going to affect the diet of her children, because her children directly depend on the mother for their nourishment. So this is why if the mother is fasting, her health can deteriorate, and as a result of it, the child's health can deteriorate. So until the children are directly taking their nourishment from the mother herself, such a woman should not be fasting. Whether such a woman has missed fasting for 4 years or 10 years, sometime a woman, she gives birth to a child, and then for the next 2 years, she is nursing the child. So while, she was expecting a baby, 9 months gone there, then you have 2 full years in which she's nursing. Sometimes some women nurse more than that. And then by the time she's done, she's expecting another baby. So in certain, households, a woman might very well be not able to fast for more than maybe 6 years, sometimes 8 years. So those years that a woman is unable to fast, because of these reasons, she does not have to fast for those fasts that she has missed. If she gives the fidya, that would suffice for her. On the men's side, however, it would be a different story. One has to see why a man is missing his fast. If somebody is missing the fast just for the sake of it, then that is actually considered a sin. And for each fast that you break, especially during the month of Ramadan, without any reason, you just feel like, okay, I'm hungry, I'm not going to do this, and you just get up and you break your fast, you're then, the punishment in a way, or kafara for such an act in Islam is that you fast 60 days consecutively. Any other question? If women do not have any more questions, then we will.
अस्सलामुअलैकुम
जी, वालेकुम सलाम.
मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है, ये शुगर के यानी कि डायबिटी के पेशेंट जो होते हैं, इनके रोज़ा रखने के लिए ना अक्सर लोग उनसे कहें कि भी डायबिटी है, रोज़ा नहीं रख सकते. एक तो थे वो यानी कि वाइफ ही थी वो मुरब्बी की, तो वो कहती हैं कि उनसी मौत को भी तो शुगर थी, वो भी तो रोज़ा रखते थे, तो तुम क्यों नहीं रख सकती. और कुछ लोग जो हैं डायबिटी के, उनको रोज़ा रखते हुए भी देखा है, तो क्या करना चाहिए, रखना चाहिए कि नहीं रखना चाहिए.
Okay, Jazakallah for your question. This question about diabetic patients and fasting came up at the time of Khalifatul Masih al-Thani radiyallahu anhu. And he said that, there are certain kind of illnesses where fasting would have an adverse effect on your health. And you should not fast, because fasting would actually make it worse. So diabetes, sometimes it differs from person to person. If one person fasts, it's possible that such an individual's health would actually improve as a result of it. Whereas another individual with the same disease, if he or she fasts, his or her health can actually further deteriorate. So this is something that you should consult your doctor if fasting is for you or not. Number one. Number two, regarding Hazrat Masih Ma'ud alayhi salatu wasalam, that he was diabetic and he still fasted. He fasted as long as his health was okay and fasting was not having any adverse effects on his health. But then there came a time, especially towards the final few years of his life, where Hazrat Masih Maud could not fast, because fasting would then result in his health further deteriorating. And that is the point where he would then come under the verse of the Quran, where Allah the Almighty, makes things easier for such believers who are sick, that they should not fast. Then there are certain kind of illnesses. For example, certain individuals, they try to make this so easy and an excuse to not fast. I personally know at least of one individual who says, Imam Sahib, I cannot fast in the month of Ramadan. And the reason I cannot fast is because when I fast, I get a headache. So because of that reason, he says that, he cannot fast. This is no excuse. Fasting, your excuse from fasting, if you're if you're already sick, Just because you think you can get sick if you fast, that's not an excuse. Unless your doctor tells you that you shouldn't fast, that's the only time when you should not fast. If your doctor is telling you that if you fast, then your health is going to be in, serious situation. But then at the same time, some individuals, they're extremely sick. They're popping pills left, right, and center. And still, when the month of Ramadan, whether it is small or big, everything that comes from Allah can never be small, by the way. Whatever injunction, whatever commandment that comes from Allah the Almighty, obey it in letter and spirit, and this is how you make Allah the Almighty happy. Not by saying, well, it doesn't matter, if I'm sick or not, or whether I'm traveling or not, I'm still gonna go ahead and fast. Such an individual who, despite being sick to an extent where his sickness would get worsened if he or she is fasting, or an individual who's traveling and wants to keep a fast, this would then be considered as hukam aduli, someone who breaks the commandment of Allah the Almighty. If Allah the Almighty is giving you relaxation in something, take it. There is blessing in that relaxation. Just like when you're traveling and the time for Zuhr Salat comes, you leave the Sunnah prayers and you offer only 2 rakat. This is the relaxation which is placed for those who are travelers. Someone who says, no, I'm healthy, I'm still gonna go ahead and I'm going to offer 4 Sunnah prayers, and then the 4 fard rakat, and then the 2 Sunnah prayers, and then I'm also going to offer some nawafil as well. That individual is not doing something which is good. Goodness is you do itaat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not that whatever you think is good. Any other question? So this would be, if there is any other question, that would be the last question I will take from the Lajna side, and then we'll come on the men's side so that I can take their questions as well. One last question from the Lajna side. All right. Since it seems like there is no other question, I'll take the questions from the men's side now.
We don't have any more questions.
You do not have any more questions, right?
We don't.
Okay, perfect. Jazakallah. Hafiz Sahib, you get to ask the first question and then we'll get other people to ask the questions. Ji. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Jazakallah khair for the relevant topic of Ramadan. Just regarding 2 points. The first point, regarding the age of fasting. My understanding, it is when people reach the age of puberty, regardless of, some people reach the age of puberty earlier than 18. So it is going to be mandatory for them to start fasting. And the second point, about fasting itself. When we talk to, since we live in a non-Muslim community, to our brothers and sisters in humanity, and they offer us something to eat, and we say we are fasting, then they ask us about what is fasting. And we explain to them it is abstaining from food, drink, and intimacy from dawn to sunset. They say, oh, this is very difficult. The whole day. And then we tell them, nah, that is the easy part. Then they say, what is the difficult part then? We say the difficult part is that all senses should be fasting as well. Because if someone abstains from food, drink, and intimacy, and then backbites or look with lust to opposite gender, or does other things, then he's not benefiting from the fasting, yeah. And of course, the real fasting is the fasting of all the senses, and that's it. Jazakallah.
Absolutely. Regarding the Bulughat point, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, in our Jamaat, we understand this fact that there are different schools of thought, that there are different schools of fiqh. For example, there is the Hanafi school of thought, the Maliki school of thought, the Shafi'i school of thought. There is the Hanafi school of thought, Hanbali school of thought. So all these different schools of thought that exist, they are like 4 walls. And when you are inside these 4 walls, you're protected. So one school of thought says that the age of bulughat starts at the age of 12. I'm just giving an example. Some other school of thought may say that that the age of bulughat is whatever the age is considered as the age of bulughat in your respective country. Some other school of thought may say that the age of bulughat is defined by the environment in which you are at, and then that same environment acts differently on different individuals. For example, living in the West, it's very likely that the physical signs of puberty may appear in one child at the age of 13, whereas in another child it might appear earlier than 13, or in certain cases after 13. So the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, similarly, there are other denominations in Islam. What we have is that for fasting, we have picked the age of 18. 18 is usually considered as the age where an individual has become adult according to the laws of the land. And up until that point, whether you're a boy or a girl, your body is still undergoing certain changes. And when you reach that age, your body has gained its strength. At an age of 12, even though for a child, he or she might be experiencing the signs of puberty, but at the same time, it's also very possible that if that individual starts fasting, especially living in these countries, it's possible that that individual might, instead of gaining strength, might start losing its strength, or his or her strength. So this is perhaps one of the wisdoms why in our Jamaat we take this approach. But I am aware that there are other denominations in Islam. They take the approach that it should be 12 years. Some take the approach that it needs to be, it would differ from person to person. And some go on to take the approach that, the age which is considered as the age of adulthood by the law of the land, that, can be taken. So in our Jamaat, we do not say that if, for example, in some country, some other denomination, if they consider that fasting becomes obligatory on a person who is 15 years of age, we will not tell them that, no, you're wrong, as long as the fiqh allows it. If the fiqh that we have, the 4 schools of fiqh, if any one of them is in favor of it, we will not say that, no, what you're doing is wrong. At the end of the day, all these are various options which are presented to us. The reason we have opted age 18 is because we have a system of khilafat, and the Khalifa basically gets to decide for the entire community. He gets to interpret the commands of Sharia for us. So that way, wherever you go, in whichever part of the world you go, as long as you visit any Ahmadi Muslim family or any Ahmadi Muslim chapter in any part of the country, any part of the world, all of us, you will find us to be on the exact same page on any issue, on any topic. The reason is, every single one of us is united because of the Khilafat. So hence, yes. Any other question on the men's side? We have about, I believe, 10 minutes or so. 10 minutes to be exact, actually, before sir. Ji.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम रवि साहब।
वालेकुम सलाम।
मेरा नाम महमूद गोंदल है जी। लजना साइड से भी मेरी किसी बहन ने अभी ये सवाल किया था, उसी की एक्सटेंशन में मेरा ये सवाल है सर, कि कुरान मजीद में रोज़े को जिस तरह फ़र्ज़ किया गया है, आया सफ़र की हालत में और बीमारी की हालत में जिस तरह रोज़े को मना किया गया है, वो हुक्म है या रिलीफ है? मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि इसी तरह ही जिस तरह रोज़ा रखने की पाबंदी है सख्ती के साथ, रोज़े को छोड़ना सफ़र या बीमारी की हालत में हुक्म है या रिलीफ है?
हुक्म है। हाँ, मैंने वो जो अल्फाज पढ़ के तो नहीं, लेकिन बस ज़बानी बता दिए थे। उसमें आता है कि ऐसा शख्स जो बीमारी की हालत में या सफ़र की हालत में रोज़ा रखता है वो हुक्म अदूली करता है। हुक्म अदूली वही करेगा ना जो हुक्म को तोड़ रहा है, तो उसके लिए लाजमी है कि इसको पहले हुक्म समझा जाए। द क्वेश्चन वाज दैट someone who fasts while traveling or while being sick, does that individual have the option of fasting, or is it a hard rule that he or she should not be fasting? I said that he or she should not be fasting. It is a hard rule. It's not an option that you have the option whether you want to, fast or not fast. Allah the Almighty is very clear in the Holy Quran. Allah Ta'ala says, do not fast if you are sick or if you are traveling. Let me see, I have the verse in front of me here somewhere where Allah the Almighty talks about this. Man kana minkum maridan aw ala safarin. Acha nahi, I don't have the full verse. Man kana minkum maridan aw ala safarin fa'iddatun min ayyamin ukhra. That's only portion of the verse that I have. وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. Again, the directive is very clear. The directive is that if you're sick or if you're traveling, then it's fasting is not for you. What you do is, this is where the other commandment comes in, that now you're supposed to give fidya and keep the number of days which you have missed after Ramadan finishes. So let's say an individual misses 5 days of fasting because of traveling or because of being sick. So what that individual should do is, that individual should pay the fidya for the 5 days he or she has missed. And then after the month of Ramadan finishes, now that individual has 11 months until the next Ramadan comes. Until the next Ramadan comes, you have 5 fasts which you missed. I just use 5 as an example, whatever the number be for different individuals. Okay, so first आप आ जाएं and then नाइब सर साहब। आपका नाम बताएंगे एक दफा?
हाँ जी।
Could you tell me your name first?
Oh sorry, ज़ोहेब खालिद मेरे साथ शिकागो से हूँ मैं।
अच्छा, शिकागो से।
हाँ जी। तो मेरा क्वेश्चन है मेरे साहब कि अगर ट्रैवलिंग के बारे में जैसे आप बता रहे हैं कि आप रोज़ा नहीं रख सकते, अगर आपकी जॉब परमानेंट ऐसी है कि आप मुसलसल आप ट्रैवल करते हैं, तो क्या इस सूरत में भी आप रोज़े आप पे वाजिब नहीं है, या मतलब जब आपकी फुल टाइम जॉब है कि आप ट्रैवल करते हैं तो आप इस सूरत में आप रख सकते हैं कि नहीं रख सकते?
जमात अहमदिया का इस बारे में ये मौक़िफ़ है, हज़रत मुस्लिम और रज़ी अल्लाह ताला अन्हु ने ये बयान किया है, जो दूसरे खलीफा थे हज़रत मसीह मौऊद अलैहिस्सलाम के, कि अगर आपकी जॉब ही ट्रैवलिंग से रिलेटेड है, मिसाल के तौर पे आप टैक्सी चलाते हैं या आप ऊबर वगैरह है या ट्रक चलाते हैं, तो ऐसी सिचुएशन में, या पाकिस्तान में होता है वो बस ड्राइवर होते हैं या वो कंडक्टर वगैरह होते हैं, ऐसे लोगों की जॉब ही ये है कि उन्होंने सब ये ट्रैवलिंग उनकी होती है। ट्रैवलिंग जो जॉब से रिलेटेड होती है, जो आप रेगुलर बेसिस पे करते हैं, उसको फ़िक़्ह की इस्तिलाह में सफ़र शुमार नहीं किया जाता। चूँकि इसको सफ़र शुमार नहीं किया जाएगा, ये आपकी नॉर्मल रूटीन का हिस्सा है, इस वजह से जो सफ़र से रिलेटेड अहकाम है वो आपके ऊपर लागू नहीं होंगे। मैं आपको एक मिसाल देता हूँ, मैं अपनी मिसाल भी दे के बात करता हूँ। बहसियत मुरब्बी होने के मेरे पास एक पूरा रीजन है, ठीक है। अब मेरा रीजन जो है उसकी हदूद काफ़ी लंबी है, मेरे पास पूरी की पूरी स्टेट ऑफ वर्जीनिया है। जो यहाँ से दूर वाली जमात है वो है रिचमंड, जो तकरीबन जहाँ पे मैं रहता हूँ वहाँ से तकरीबन 2 घंटे दूर है, और उसके बाद अफराद हैं जो वहाँ से मजीद 2-3 और घंटे दूर रहते हैं, ये 5-6 घंटे का सफ़र बन जाता है। अब मैंने अपने रीजन में कहीं पे भी जाना है, चूँकि ये मेरे काम से रिलेटेड है और ये मेरा रूटीन का सफ़र है क्योंकि मैं करता रहता हूँ, लिहाजा मैं मुसाफिर शुमार नहीं हूँगा, शरीयत के मुताबिक मैं मुकीमी हूँगा। लिहाजा जब मैं अपने घर से निकल के रिचमंड की मस्जिद जाता हूँ, मैं वहां पे पूरी नमाज पढ़ता हूँ, पूरी नमाज पढ़ता हूँ। क्यों? क्योंकि वो मेरे काम का हिस्सा है। इसी तरीके से एक बंदा है, वो टैक्सी चलाता है, वो यहाँ से निकल के कभी मैरीलैंड चला जाता है, कभी कोई सवारी लेके बाल्टीमोर में होगा, कभी डीसी में होगा, कभी रिचमंड में होगा। ये चूंकि उसके रोजमर्रा के जो है रूटीन स्केड्यूल जो है उसकी जॉब, ये उसके जुमरे में आता है, लिहाजा ये सफर शुमार नहीं होगा। ऐसे बंदे को रोजा रखना चाहिए और नमाज भी पूरी पढ़नी चाहिए। नायब सदर साहब अंदर जी। हाँ जी, नायब सदर साहब आ गए। वालेकुम।
So just one comment about the first question about Nabuwat. I just want to mention that some of the younger generation, we should always mention that it will be Ummati Nabi. I think specifically the open use of word Nabi is kind of sometimes, it gives information. The second question is, something is very clear, you're healthy and you're sick, but there is a big gray zone, and it's very common with, I think, lot of people who are fasting, that you have like bout of nausea, you have bout of headache during fasting, some even throw up a little bit, some feel dizzy. So what are they? I mean, especially those things happen when you are at the close to the finishing the fast, like in the last couple of hours, last 3 hours. So how can somebody determine which category he or she is, falls into?
If he or she,
whether that person should finish the fast, or is it like minor illness, or it's real illness, or
डॉक्टर तो आप हैं, ठीक है, जज़ाकल्लाह। When you're fasting and you feel a headache, or you feel like, hunger is really getting to you, those are common signs that you're experiencing hunger, and there's nothing serious about it. It's not a health issue. It's not that you're sick. Because of that, you should not be breaking your fast. Just because you're experiencing hunger, and as a result of experiencing hunger, you have those, headaches that you think is, this is something which is extraordinary. Unless it is something which you cannot withstand. If you cannot withstand, then Allah Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wusaha. But this is where every person would have to decide for his or herself. This also is not right, that an individual says, well, my level of, patience is very minimal, and acts in haste. That's also not right. So that's why I said doctors are usually better equipped to make that judgment call for individuals. For example, if I have a headache, I often get headaches anyways. So for me to say that, this headache is associated with fasting, and that and to be honest, most of the times when I do get a headache, I don't even take anything for it. It comes and then it goes on its own. So again, every person would have to see his or her own circumstances, what condition is their health in, and then using the help of a professional doctor, they should come up to a conclusion that if they should fast or not. I already gave you one example of an individual who is at least 10 times, if not more, in better health than I am. And he's the one who is saying that, I cannot fast because if I fast, then, I will have a headache. Not that he has had a headache, I will have a headache. So these are, to me personally, at least it seems like excuses just to not fast. But then again, if your doctor says that if you fast and it will have adverse effects, negative effects on your health, by all means then don't fast. Give the fidyah and then try to keep those fasts in other days after the month of Ramadan. وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. So this is the verse where in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 186, Allah the Almighty talks about the concept of, someone who is sick or traveling should not fast. And then Allah Ta'ala says, Allah Ta'ala desires ease for you and not difficulty. Allah is telling us that, ease is that if you're sick or if you're traveling, don't fast. And this is what Allah desires. And then Allah Ta'ala says, وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ, and complete the number of days which you're missing afterwards. You can complete the number afterwards. And then Allah Ta'ala says, وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And that, praise Allah, do takbir for Him having guided you, and be grateful. How much more clearer can it get when Allah the Almighty clearly says that, don't fast if you're sick or traveling. Complete the missed number of days afterwards, because there is ease in it for you, and this is what Allah desires. That Allah desires ease for you and not difficulty. So things in which Allah desires ease, we should benefit from that ease, because at that moment, benefiting from the ease that Allah has mentioned, that is the concept of Amle Saleh. If Allah says do Qasr Salat, then at that time doing Qasr Salat is Amle Saleh. If Allah Ta'ala says fast, then at that moment fasting is Amle Saleh. If Allah says do not fast, then not fasting at that time is Amle Saleh. Some people say that, look, doing good is Amle Saleh. For example, fasting is a good deed. But if you're traveling, or if you're sick and you fast, then it is not a good deed. It is not a good deed, even though you may think that this is a good deed. So the thing to remember is, Allah the Almighty keeps on saying in all the different parts of the Holy Quran that, those who believe and do Amle Saleh. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Those who do Amle Saleh. Amle Saleh is a good deed which is done at the right time. For example, when, let's say, there was the time for jihad at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the lives of Muslims were religiously speaking under threat. Because of their religion, they were being massacred. At that time, when it was time for them to actually go and defend themselves, not attack other people, but defend themselves. Imagine if some individual said, well, I'm actually going to go ahead and fast. Fasting during the time when his strength is most needed will not be considered as Amle Saleh. Or saying, okay, now is the time for me to go and defend, but I'm actually going to go and start reading Nawafil. Now, reading Nawafil is good, but reading Nawafil at a time when your services are needed for the sake of Islam elsewhere, that will not be considered as Amle Saleh. So this needs to be kept in mind. I believe the time, we are 4 minutes up, but we'll take one last question.
Last question is that during the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu the device of traveling was different.
Ji.
But now the means of traveling, like airplane traveling by airways, if we go to, let's say, New York and return the same day, so where do you draw a line that we should fast and we should not fast?
Okay, Jazakallah. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Thani radiyallahu anhu has answered this question. He says there is no fasting while traveling. But that doesn't mean that there is no traveling while fasting. Now let me explain that to you. If your fast begins after, if your journey begins after you have started if your journey begins and your journey ends before, meaning you have come back to the destination before the iftar, not at the time of iftar, not 1 minute late, before iftar. If your journey starts and finishes within this time frame, then it's okay for you to fast and make that journey, because then that would not be considered as journey. Some jurists say that no, it will be considered as journey, but Hazrat Muslim Maud, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Thani radiyallahu anhu was of the opinion which is the stance of the Jamaat-e-Ahmadiyya as well, that any such journey which begins after Seher and finishes before iftar will not be considered as a journey for the sake of fasting. For the sake of fasting, that would not be considered as journey. But let's say there are individuals who are traveling. I'll give you one example. If you travel from here to LA, to Los Angeles, it's a 3 or 4 day drive, and you're driving continuously. And then you say, well, I'm gonna fast. You're already traveling, you're already a musafir. So for you to fast will be wrong, because you're already a musafir. So this is the definition that why Allah Ta'ala says if you're traveling, don't fast. But if you're fasting, and there comes a travel which fits within the window of your fast, the time window would be that you start, from Seher and then end at iftar. If your journey can start and finish within this time frame, then it's okay. But if it goes above that, then you should not be fasting. I believe there is an incident at the time of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian alayhi salatu wasalam, where some of his companions, some of his Sahaba, they were traveling from Lahore. And even though Lahore is not too far from Qadian, those of us who have been to Qadian, I think it's probably either 70 kilometers or 70 miles. I don't know, but one of the two. It's not that long of a journey. But back in those days, the journey that could have taken a significant amount of time. So the companions, they started their fast and they started traveling. Either they did their sehri on the way, something like that. I don't have the exact narration in front of me. I can maybe bring it next time that I'm here. And then when they came to Qadian, they came and it was morning time. And Hazrat Masih Maud Islam sent something for them to eat because they were coming from the outside. And they said, Hazur, we're fasting. Hazur said, there is no fasting in traveling. If you were already traveling, then there is no fasting for you. So, inshallah ta'ala, we'll take this narration up next time. Yes, sir. Hafiz up.
I guess one verse, Surah Al-Baqarah 185. The meaning says, it would be better if you fast in regard to traveling. Ayah number 185. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. That's the end of the ayah. So with regard to traveling, if one could fast, that would be better. Especially like the brother's question, I could traveling to New York, I don't know how long, 1 hour. So there is no hardship. That's.
I think I addressed that any such travel that fits within the time frame of your fast, meaning it does not go beyond, that kind of travel is fine. But our understanding from this same verse is that Allah the Almighty is saying that fasting is good for you if you know. Some people leave fasting because they just don't want to fast. Allah is saying that fasting is good for you if you only had knowledge. However, this portion of the verse cannot be applied on all kinds of traveling. And there is a reason behind it. The tafsir of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is that it is mentioned that once a companion was traveling. Okay. It is narrated by Hazrat Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhuma that once Holy Prophet ﷺ was traveling and he saw that a group of his companions were creating a shadow or shadowing one of the other companions. At which Holy Prophet ﷺ mentioned, "What are you doing?" And those companions mentioned that we are shadowing, or we are creating a shadow or shade for the companion who is fasting. At this, Holy Prophet ﷺ, in a very jalali tone, said, "Laysa min al-birri as-sawmu fi safar." That fasting while you're traveling is not a good deed. And this is from Bukhari, Kitab al-Sawm. Similarly, in Sunan Nisa'i, Kitab al-Sawm, there is another hadith. And then in Sunan Ibn Majah, there is another one. In Sunan Ibn Majah, it is mentioned that Hazrat Abdur Rahman bin Auf radiyallahu anhu stated that one who fasts while traveling during the month of Ramadan is breaking the commands of Allah. And his example is as such, उस शख्स की तरह है जो घर में रहकर बिला उज़र रोज़ा नहीं रखता. And his example is as that individual who does not fast while he is home. So he is comparing these two scenarios. An individual who fasts during traveling is breaking the commandment of Allah. Similarly, a person who is staying at home and is choosing not to fast. The way this individual who is staying home is breaking the commandment of Allah, similarly is the other individual who should not be fasting and is fasting during travel. Then there is another hadith, as I mentioned, in Sunan Nisa'i, Kitab al-Sawm. It is mentioned that Holy Prophet ﷺ, upon finding out that an individual is fasting while that individual is traveling or is a musafir, he would make that individual open his fast. So this is in Sunan Nisa'i, Kitab al-Sawm. So I think once again, in principle, we agree on one point, that any such journey which begins after Seher and ends well before iftar, such a journey will not be considered a journey for the purpose of fasting. And henceforth, that kind of travel is okay. But any journey which takes more time than this allocated time frame, that would be considered journey for the purpose of fasting. Let me quickly just read the guidance from our Khalifa, and then we can end tonight's discussion on that and continue inshallah ta'ala next week. So this is in Urdu. I will read it in Urdu and then I will translate it into English inshallah ta'ala. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani radiyallahu anhu फरमाते हैं, सफ़र के मुताल्लिक मेरा अकीदा और ख़याल यही है, मुमकिन है बाज़ फ़ुक़हा को इससे इख्तिलाफ़ हो कि अब हजूर अपना अकीदा और ख़याल बयान करें। जो सफ़र सहरी के बाद शुरू होकर शाम को ख़त्म हो जाए वो रोज़े के लिहाज से सफ़र नहीं है। सफ़र में रोज़ा रखने से शरीयत रोकती है, सफ़र में रोज़ा रखने से शरीयत रोकती है, मगर रोज़ों में सफ़र करने से नहीं रोकती। बस जो सफ़र रोज़ा रखने के बाद शुरू होकर इफ्तारी से पहले ख़त्म हो जाए वो रोज़े के लिहाज से सफ़र नहीं, रोज़ा सफ़र में है, सफ़र में रोज़ा नहीं। अखबार अल-फज़ल 25 सितंबर 1942। So the reference that I have just read out before you, a fatwa from the second Khalifa, is that he says that it is his belief, and it's possible that other fuqaha might disagree with him, but his belief is that any such travel which begins after seher and finishes before iftar for the purpose of fasting, such a travel will not be considered as safar. However, any journey which does not fit within this time frame of seher and iftar, if it takes more time, then that would be considered as safar, and the individual will then be required to not fast. This is such a topic which requires more attention and more time. So inshallah ta'ala, what we will do is, we will continue next week with the Ramadan related matters. So I'm requesting the Tarbiyat Secretary Sahib and Talim al-Quran Secretary Sahib to please publicize this throughout the entire Jamaat, that inshallah ta'ala tonight's class was on Ramadan matters, and the next class next Tuesday will also be inshallah ta'ala on Ramadan matters. So what I want to do is, I quickly want to make sure that we go over these questions that usually come up during the month of Ramadan. If these questions come up now and we answer them, then inshallah ta'ala when Ramadan comes, we are already on the same page, and then inshallah ta'ala we won't have any issues. ठीक है जी, चलें, व आखिर दावाना अनिल हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन।